All right, let's get started this afternoon. Once again, my name is Will Rosenzweig. I'm the Dean of the Food Business School at the Culinary Institute of America. We're based in California, but our courses and our students really come from all over the world. We're a relatively new school, but we're part of a very established institution. Culinary Institute has been around for about 70 years and has been leading college in the training and development of chefs and food service industry leaders around the world. The college has 4 campuses, 2 here in California now, 1 in San Antonio, Texas, the main campus in Hyde Park, New York, and an international campus in Singapore. And the Food Business School is the center for graduate and executive education at the Culinary Institute of America. And this is our FOODBIZ series. We do these conversations once a month to connect our learning community to topics of interest and pressing need in the food industry. We really exist to help empower and enable innovators in food to address the world's most pressing food systems challenges and its greatest business opportunities. And we bring an approach that is very entrepreneurial, very pragmatic. All of our classes feature team-based learning, peer-to-peer learning, a lot of doing, a lot of practice. We like to think of the way we teach entrepreneurship as acting one's way into meaning. So you learn principles, you learn skill sets, you learn tool sets. You get to practice the mindset of the entrepreneur, which requires a lot of persistence and tenacity and grit, also patience and resourcefulness. There are a lot of key kind of approaches to entrepreneurship and innovation that can be learned and developed. And we have created a way of bringing very skilled practitioners together with accomplished academics to teach and lead our courses. And a number of our courses have been successfully piloted or presented at major universities around the world, and Food Business School is pioneering a way to bring those courses online. And to that end, I'm really thrilled today to bring to you our special guest, Jaspal Sandhu, who's really remarkable in the sense that he's a scholar in his own right. He's a practitioner, he's an innovator, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a very skilled and beloved teacher. He's been leading a course at UC Berkeley with the name of Eat.Think.Design. Welcome, Jaspal. It's great to have you here today.
Thank
you.
And
Jaspal is what I think is so exciting to have him be part of Food Business School now is that he brings a real world perspective of someone who's solving problems every day in his work practice. And then he's effectively transmitting and sharing and collaborating with students in very principled and mission-driven concerns. So we are thrilled to be able to work with Jaspal to bring his very popular and successful course, Eat.Think.Design, which has found a home at the School for Public Health at UC Berkeley. And at that school, it's attracted students from all across the university, which makes it one of the most exciting and cross-disciplinary programs that there is. So Jaspal is going to translate that for you in a 6-week online experience starting really next week, September 12th through October 14th. We have special registration for those of you joining us today. And we're going to spend a good amount of time kind of hearing about the class and what you can expect from it, what you might learn from it. And Jaspal is going to share some little cases that he's prepared to give you a look under the hood. And so let's get started. So Jaspal, tell us a little bit about your background, your educational background. You've got a PhD from Berkeley. You've you lead a consulting group that works all over the world called the Gobee Group, and you're this fabulous, teacher held in great esteem at Berkeley. So how did all that happen?
Well, thanks, Will, and thanks for the invitation to be here today. I'm really excited, and I'm excited also to be working with the Food Business School. I think a good starting point is if you rewind my clock 15 years, I wasn't doing any of this design thinking that you talk about. I wasn't an entrepreneur, and I wasn't working in food. I was an engineer. But I had some opportunities at that point in my career to pick up some skills and also see some opportunities that allowed me to pivot. And I think this is, I assume, what will be important or relevant to a lot of the folks that are listening here. I know it's important to many of our learners at the Food Business School, is that often we're seeking those opportunities to pivot in our careers. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily taking on something entirely new, but we are shifting a bit. And so my first shift was from a very traditional engineer, designing things like welds and bolts and things like that, working in manufacturing systems, to working in new product development for an international mobile company, Nokia, in their research group. We were developing new products, some of which did hit the market and some of which didn't. But that was really my first taste of a few different things: entrepreneurship inside of a corporation, design, human-centered design, often not by that name, which is really, if I had to translate that, I think you mentioned user-centered design. Some people say human-centered design. You mentioned design thinking. I sometimes talk about systematic innovation. All that really is using skills and a little bit of common sense to get a better understanding of who our potential customers are, and using that understanding to drive the development of new products and new businesses. So I really got my feet wet there, and it wasn't until later that I had another couple of important pivots to land to where I am today. The next one was that I started to I'll say work on problems that mattered more to society at large. And that's not to be a naysayer to the type of work I was doing before, but I really found a nice home in public health and global health. And some of that was healthcare work, but it was much broader than that. We were looking at how to improve information access for farm workers in the Central Valley using technology. We were looking at, maybe these were actually my early forays into food, design of cook stoves in Central America to reduce indoor air pollution. And so I really found this nice intersection and a nice community that was doing work at this intersection between social impact and human-centered design, which we're pulling a lot from the technology and design industries. And it was, about 10 years ago that I started Gobee with a couple of partners. We've had a very good run, and we're very happy with the type of work that we do. It's all at this intersection of design and social impact. A lot of that work is global. About half or a third of our portfolio is domestic, focused here on the US. Maybe 7 years ago, I started teaching at Berkeley School of Public Health. As you mentioned, even though my home is at the School of Public Health here at Berkeley, we have been fortunate to draw students from across campus, from the information school, from engineering, from our graduate school of business. You can virtually name any graduate program on campus, and we've had by now students from there. I think we've over the 6 years that we've taught the course, I think drawn in students from 30 or 35 different graduate academic programs. And it was more recently, as the last 5 years, that I really started working in food. And I find it interesting, and some of our audience today may find it surprising that I'm here and affiliated with FBS if I've only been working in the food space for 5 years. But can you still hear me? You can, okay. I think Will's internet went down. Okay, great. So, my pivot into food, it took a couple of different paths. There was work that we were doing at Gobee that started to touch on access to food and healthy food in disadvantaged communities here in the U.S. In parallel, I partnered up with a couple of colleagues here that were already working in food and nutrition, and I really teamed up with what I would say is the best of the best here to create an opportunity for us to bring human-centered design thinking to food and food entrepreneurship, especially where food intersects with social impact. And so we've been teaching this course that Will mentioned called Eat.Think.Design at Berkeley, based out of the School of Public Health, going across campus for 3 years, going on our 4th year this coming spring. And it's been really exciting. I'll be happy, a little bit later this hour to talk about some examples of particularly new ventures that have come out of that class. What has been exciting about it is how engaged our students have been, how this has been a platform for students to launch new ventures inside of organizations or brand new ventures, startup products and startup companies. I think the challenge for us, the challenge for me has been thinking about how we take a product that we've created here that really has had limited scope in terms of audience. We've only been able to open up that class and that experience to 25 students every year here at Berkeley. Over the 3 years we've taught the course, that's only 75 people across probably 200 people that come into the course. So I'm very excited with our new partnership between Eat.Think.Design and Food Business School to see how we might be able to take that experience, adapt it to an online environment, and bring together learners who are working in very different sectors, who are in very different geographic places to work together and learn some of these skills. And I use that language intentionally. It is about bringing learners together. It is about structuring team-oriented work and structuring team-based learning so that it's, let me say, it's not as maybe didactic or sort of lecture-based as we might be used to.
Well, I think you're making an important point, because one of the design attributes that we've tried to bring to FBS and that I know you bring to Eat.Think.Design at Berkeley and that I brought to Food Venture Lab is this dynamic of bringing well-intentioned people together who bring diverse backgrounds and experience, but perhaps a broad shared vision of making a difference in the world through, in this case, food and health and sustainability, and the serendipity that comes from that kind of luck or that preparation is tremendous. And I think both of us have experienced playing midwife or just creating the container or the catalyst, if you will, for this kind of creative combustion. But I wanted to go back a little bit, because you were talking about your training as an engineer and going back to sort of why did user-centered or human-centered design come about. And it's interesting to me because some of my friends and colleagues who developed engineering backgrounds and became very facile with technology, they would build things and they would then bring them to market, and lo and behold, there was no reception, and there was a lot of money spent. And I remember this from the old days of kind of the second wave of the personal computer, when there was a wave of hardware created as appendages or extensions of the personal computer. And there were all these network appliances that were kind of dead on arrival. And they received a lot of venture-backed funding. I just remember that in my own career. And it was interesting because there was just no, the engineering teams, the scientists and the technologists didn't talk to the marketing people. There wasn't a dialogue. And so there was what you might call an if we build it, they will come proposition. And I think, thanks to the brilliance of the Kelly brothers and Tim Brown and IDEO's heritage of also wanting to share what they learn and, create a movement. I think it's just extraordinary to me to see that design thinking as a discipline has become kind of a fundamental skill set for anyone embarking on a career that involves creativity, innovation, entrepreneurship, which is almost any career, whether you're going to be a lawyer or whether you're going to be a product designer or whether you're going to be a food scientist. This discipline is just essential as a way of developing good listening skills, becoming empathetic with the needs of customers, understanding purchasing behavior, understanding the way people use products. But one of the things that I've found is sort of most practical in an Eat.Think.Design class is just interview skills. How do you ask the right questions? So why don't we start there with that question?
So, one thing before diving into interviews specifically is jotting notes down, both to talk to, but because I love speaking to you all. I feel like I always get multiple new ideas out of every conversation. And here on my paper, I have written down and circled the word respect. And I think that at its root, certainly design thinking, user-centered design, human-centered design, systematic innovation is about particular skills that we use. It's about interviewing skills. It is about ways that we engage with particular customers. It's about taking creative approaches to looking at both quantitative and qualitative data. It is about encouraging group creativity. But if you back away from the skills are important, and if you look at it as an approach to problem solving, I really do think that at its core, it is about respect. It's about respect for your customer, and it's about respect for your teams. The example you gave of engineers being partitioned from marketing, I don't really see that as a failure of marketing or of engineers. Perhaps it's a failure of organizations or management. The respect that's necessary there is to bring engineers and marketers and others within an organization, whether it's 3 people or whether it's 15,000 or 40,000 people, together early in the process to work out those problems together, to engage with their customers, and to sort of have a mutual respect inside an organization and outside. And I'll say this is something that we continue to see opportunities for improvement in.
One of the things, just to build on that, Jaspal, is that I think that it's, respect is really the core value that, provides the foundation for productive conversation and, collaboration. What I learned, is that engineers would speak one language and marketeers would speak another. And so one of the beauties of the design thinking language and process is that it created a shared language. It brought, it wasn't just a failure of organizational design or leadership. It was really that people were trained in very narrow, kind of siloed environments. And probably even when you were in school or getting your PhD, you probably didn't interact the way people on campus are now. It's fascinating to me to see students kind of tearing down the institutional walls to say, new stuff, innovation, progress, disruption comes from cross-pollination. And for cross-pollination to be successful, there has to be a shared language. so that the bees can do their waggle dance.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a common language, and it's also maybe the context and permission to speak that language, because we don't really offer that as an opportunity. I think it might help to. I'm allowed to control this. There we go. To talk about this in a specific context. So this image here is this is from one of my student teams this past spring of 2016 here at UC Berkeley, that in the end came to develop a product that they're still very much in the throes of, called Farmcation, which is a marketplace to connect food-conscious consumers with, I feel like I'm on their marketing team now. I want to get the wording right, with local farm experiences. So there's, we've got a lot of small-scale farmers who are looking for additional opportunities to engage customers, to quite frankly seek alternative revenue streams on one side. And on the other side, we've got a number of, as I say, food-conscious consumers, health-conscious, sustainability-conscious, which is virtually everybody now. It didn't used to be. It used to be a niche, but now we're getting to a point where it's almost all of America. What Farmcation is a marketplace to connect the supply side and the demand side there. And if you look at the makeup of the team, it was the concept was hatched by two of our MBA students in our class. Grace Lesser came to us. She was one of the two founders of the concept, and not a lot of work had been done yet. But she was able to pitch her classmates on this concept, get them excited about it. She had one other MBA student join her. Both of them work deeply in the food space. They each spent the last 3 months, one of them working for a large natural foods company in Colorado, the other working for Uber Eats in Seattle. In a way, maybe they do talk the same language, but the other two people on their team were a public policy person who had worked on state health policy for the state of Oregon before coming back for his master's degree here at Berkeley, and somebody who had worked in international development in the technology space in East Africa, who is now part of our information school program. So she's kind of a user experience person. 4 people who, at least by their academic pathways, represented some diversity, but really as whole people were very, very different. They all came together and had this, I think you said it really well, Will, they could do the waggle dance together. They had the opportunity with design thinking, with the skills and frameworks that we provided, to learn to talk a common language, or perhaps to translate from their home languages into something that was mutually intelligible. And they did a lot of interviews. This is, I hope they don't mind me talking this in depth about their process, but they had done 20, 30, 35, 40 interviews, and they were finding a lot of conflicting information in those interviews. I think they're doing a really excellent job of it. We discussed what their approach was, how they were using the skills that we were teaching in the course, how they were analyzing that data as it came back. I think they were doing everything just right, but they ended up at a point where they were sort of hearing conflicting things from their potential consumers, from potential farmers on the demand side. And we came to a point halfway through their project in the class where we said, you just got to get out there and do it. And this is, maybe this is what the engineers were doing. They were doing it in the 70s, they're doing it in the 80s, they're doing it in the 90s, they're still doing it today, is just building something and putting it out there. The difference is what we want our teams to do is put something out there that is lightweight, that doesn't require a big financial or time or resource commitment. So what they did is they created a single event. They didn't build a whole digital platform. They built let me say, a good enough digital platform. But they really put in a lot of work into developing a single event, a single farm event here at Terra Firma Farms. For those in the Bay Area, it's I think it's up in Dixon. I want to say it's Fairfield way, where they were able to bring together 50 paying consumers into a farm experience where these consumers got to explore the farm, learn about the farm, learn about potentially ways in which they might engage the farm in the future, including community-supported agriculture. And that experience itself is a single-day event. It took them a couple of weeks to plan and run. It was what we would call a prototype. It wasn't intended to be the whole business. Not everything was dependent on it, but it got them out of that cycle of focusing just on the interviews. Interviews are a really important part of that design process, but so is putting out kind of a mock version of your product and learning from that. So that's what they did, and they learned quite a bit, and they from that experience, I think, learned a lot on the technical side, but they also and this is important, I think they also got an injection of excitement and passion when they saw that there was a real market out there. And that's why they're continuing to evolve this product.
So from a practical perspective, in your class that you're going to start teaching next week, will you be offering people sort of best practices in interview techniques, best practices in rapid prototyping? How are people going to learn and get started, assuming that they don't have any experience? They might have an opportunity in mind that they want to work on, or they might even need help in their opportunity recognition and refining the kinds of refining sort of the definition of the problems that they want to go tackle. But I feel like you hit on something that I just want to underscore, is that when people work on something that they are passionate about, that they care about, they're more likely to stick with it through the difficult challenges. When they get conflicting information, like you said, when they get naysayers. When I started Republic of Tea, I had a very memorable meeting with one of the sort of long-time leaders of the tea industry who gave me an audience. I was just sort of a young whippersnapper thinking I could reinvent that. And he basically sat and kind of told me, well, everything that's been, can be done has been tried and done in the tea business. He had sort of passed through, his perspective had been baked. And what's so exciting, and especially in food, as food changes so quickly, is that there's so much opportunity for reinvention. And just this morning, somebody brought to my attention a young team of people in Chicago reinventing tea again, 25 years after I did, with a very fresh, kind of hip, very millennial, way. So I think what I wanted to get at is how are you going to help coax out people's sort of authentic personal viewpoints into a process, where they're going to be able to develop these real skill sets and then practice them. Because like you said, after Grace did 20 interviews, she got a lot better at asking the right questions. The first 5 you do, you're just hoping that somebody will answer you and that you can remember what they said, and you can parse what was valuable. And a lot of that discernment comes from pattern recognition. After you're able to have a number of interviews. So maybe I think it would be helpful, how are people going to interact with you during this course? I know you've been working with our curriculum director, Andy, quite a bit to, how are people going to get a chance to interact online, and maybe talk a little bit about the way this platform that we've chosen works, and how people will practice offline too.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the most important part, Will, which is this sort of stuff can't be, you can't sort of learn by osmosis. You can't learn by reading a book or listening to a lecture. It is something that you have to practice. And so our expectation is that we will be providing best practices and guidance, but we'll be providing actual exercises around that practicing. We're making a decision with this course where we actually want to separate it from the specific interests that folks may already have, because we know that we have some learners who might already have a venture and some who might just be there for simply the opportunity to learn. So we're going to create the opportunity through office hours to have more individualized consultations around how some of these skills might apply to folks who say, you know, I've got this thing and I want to apply these skills to this thing that I'm already working on, a new product, a new service. In the context of the main context of the course, what we're going to do is we're going to set up teams that are all going to be working across our entire cohort of learners on the same challenge. So we'll have teams. We're determining the size, Andy and I, in the next couple of days, the ideal team size. But let's just say it's five learners. So we'll have multiple teams of 5 learners that are all addressing the same top-level challenge. And that top-level challenge is going to be inspired by some of our partners that work in the food waste space. And to us, it was important to seed the entire course with an existing challenge for a couple of reasons. One, we didn't want to lose any time. You know, this is really, including the front and tail ends, this is a 6-week experience, and we want to make sure that as much of that time is focused on learning, developing, practicing skills, no matter where people are in their level of experience with some of these skills, so that they're in a better place halfway through and they're in a much better place by the end of it. So by seeding it with a challenge from the beginning, we sort of gain a week back. The other thing, which I was sort of hinting at earlier on, is this is not about me or any of us really kind of simply projecting wisdom, right? So we're, like what you said, we're sort of midwives, you and I. We're creating a container, we're creating the opportunity for people to learn and for our learners to learn from one another. So if we have multiple teams of 5 that are approaching the same challenge with some of the same skills that we're providing to them, they will be able to see through the course of these 6 weeks how other teams approach the exact same challenge using those skills, and that presents an additional opportunity for cross-learning. You know, overall, I see the course as being sort of foundational for folks who, especially, are in the early stages of a new venture or who are exploring new business opportunities or new opportunity inside of a large organization to really use the approaches of customer engagement, user-centered design, to figure out what the right question or the right problem is in the first place. And so by the end of these 6 weeks, we expect that people will be comfortable with many of these skills that they can then apply them in their own contexts. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, I think that really delivers on the kind of learning objectives that we're trying to integrate into all of our courses. This idea that you get to understand a problem, you get to develop a skill or set of skills to address it. You practice those skills. During the practicing of them, you refine them. You develop confidence. You change. You grow. You know what I loved about the way you started the conversation today was to talk about your own personal growth and your what you called pivots from sort of one set of development or skills or education, into something where you've followed your passion and your purpose. And I just want to loop back that while the Eat.Think.Design course will have, I think, a lot of professional application, like you said, either for people who want to build a company or who are leading an innovative effort, within a business unit of a company. This is also the toolkit of design thinking is so applicable to our own lives to bring this process and these skill sets to our own development, our own self-actualization as, creative change makers in the world. And so the other thing I'm really excited about Eat.Think.Design is just that I see it both as a professional development course and also having a lot of, useful content for personal development as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my hope as well. I think, the way that we are structuring Eat.Think.Design with FBS is really one where that opportunity to develop professionally and personally is one where we expect everybody to, if they're open to it, to advance on both fronts, no matter what their starting point is. So we want to structure an environment, a team learning environment that again sort of allows for growth, personal and professional growth, no matter kind of what's more important to people, where they're at, what kind of experience they have in food waste with human-centered design. To us, that's we expect there to be a diversity across that spectrum. But the way that we're designing the course, the way that we're designing this entire, say, experience instead of a course, is one where we expect everybody, as long as they invest that time, effort, and energy into it, to get back multifold, 2, 3, 4 times what they put in terms of that professional, and I'm glad you said it, personal development as well.
Well, I just wanted to underscore that because these FBS classes really expect your own personal initiative, motivation, resourcefulness, and I wanted to underscore that we are working with a new kind of learning platform that's different than, say, Skillshare or Udacity or or Coursera, which are, effectively either, mini lectures or demonstrations. We're actually working in an interactive environment that has a whole social context that, for any of you that are, Facebook users, will look a little bit familiar in terms of being able to post things to your profile, to be able to see the work of your peers, to be able to review things, to be able to share out more broadly through social media. I mean, one of the things that's interesting is that you can actually use the learning platform to share out your ideas, to source expertise, to source input from the crowd, if you will. So I want to just encourage anybody that's watching today or that's interested in what we're doing at FBS to, come along in this journey with us as we try to innovate and reinvent, online or just education, period. Because I think that, from my perspective, I think that online opportunities offer, a whole new world of access and affordability. And like you said, there's been hundreds and hundreds of people that want to take this course from you now, and only 25 people who happen to be in Berkeley, California this fall, get to participate. So here we are getting to translate this in a way that it can be accessible around the world and useful. And, the other thing that I've been really impressed with Eat.Think.Design is that it's grounded in, in purpose, in mission. You want to work on tough problems that have the potential to impact people, diverse populations of people. That's why I love that it, originated at the School of Public Health, because that kind of foundational value of, helping people is really very coherent with what we're trying to do at FBS. there's plenty of kombuchas in the world and plenty of, artisanal chocolate, not to knock that at all. But, we're also wanting to think of, really broadly and deeply about where we can make a difference that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say the nice thing about that is this was true 5 years ago, it was true 10 years ago, but I think it's much more true now. There's a convergence of health, sustainability, and market opportunities. So, what we see, flip through a couple of my former students, here's an example, and I think this relates to passion in your story about when you were in the early days with Republic of Tea, Will, that sometimes there are often going to be naysayers, and it requires not just passion, but a sustained passion in the face of, I'll say, a lot of difficulties. This is a photo from an event that one of my former students from at least 3 years ago, Eileens catered. Eileen was in our public health and nutrition program, but Eileen was also a chef, which, at least here, is an odd combination. Maybe that's a surprise to some people. Eileen, she asked what many would consider to be an audacious question. I think you asked an audacious question when you were creating and leading Republic of Tea, Will. That's, is there an additional market opportunity here? Is there a way to do things differently in a very well-established industry? And what Eileen has asked is, can we make Filipino food healthy? She's Filipino herself, grew up in Hawaii, and both of those cultural identities are a very important part of who she is personally and professionally. She wears a couple of professional hats. She is certainly a public health professional. She's also a chef, and she's an entrepreneur. And she had this concept for a healthier Filipino fare focused on markets here in the U.S. that, as a chef and as sort of a common sense person, that would also be tasty and appealing, and ties into a lot of Filipino food traditions that have been lost over the years. So she's a food historian also. She's one of these people, and I think probably a lot of people here on the call today, certainly many of our FBS learners are the same way. They all wear lots of different hats simultaneously. I think Eileen hit some bumps along the way and had a lot of people say, you can't do this. It's not going to work. We sort of like our food the way that it is. Eileen was just accepted last month into the Lacina incubator here in San Francisco, which is kind of fantastic, kind of a big breakthrough for her to get that sort of, I'll say, external validation. Certainly the investment incubation opportunity as well, but I think it signals that we're at a point where that convergence between health and market opportunity is increasingly common. So I think this hits on a few of those points, that convergence and that
coincidentally,
to be tenacious.
Just to share with you, coincidentally, we had a learner this last summer in Food Venture Lab who is a woman from India, trained as an engineer, who decided she wanted to reinvent the food of her childhood in a healthy manner. So similar, again, it reminds me that when there's a good idea in the world, there's a good chance that 7, 10, 12, 25 people are having it simultaneously. And to your point, and it may be even more now with social media sort of traveling, memes but it's that combination of vision and execution that's so critical, and that persistence to both stick with what you believe in while being open to listening carefully and integrating what you're learning, so that what you're doing is this iterative, like this systematic innovation, as you called it, becomes just central to the process. And I know that people are going to learn, they're going to learn beyond the words we're using to describe this in your course. They're going to come out after 6 weeks and go, aha, now I understand what that means. And I actually have, I have a vocabulary, I have an experience, and I have a confidence to apply it, whether it's, tomorrow, or whether it's in 10 years when your, big light bulb idea goes off. But, I'm looking at the clock and I see that you have to run off to class, and I don't want you to be late. But we're really grateful for your time today. As always, I enjoy talking with you, learning from you, and I'm really excited to be able to participate, lurk a little bit in your classroom next week when you get started at the Food Business School. And so just, I want to thank Jaspal Sandhu. You can join him next week, beginning the week of September 12th, in Eat.Think.Design at the Food Business School. I'm going to wrap up the talk today with a little link and an offer where you can register and get involved. I think, Jaspal, are you also a member of our mentor network? I think you might be.
I'm going to be there this week. Yeah.
Okay, you will be. Because the students at the Food Business School also get the benefit of accessing about 40 pretty remarkable, sector experts who generously give their time to students. And so one of the real benefits of the Food Business School is to be able to build your network of expertise. And a lot of our students really use that just extensively to get more specific interaction and insight and connections that benefit them. And your experience and network is, brings a lot to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Have a good class tonight.
Fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to next week.
Okay. Take care, Jaspal. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So that was fun. Jaspal will be a lot of fun to work with in this class. He, like I mentioned, he's very humble, but he's a really beloved faculty member at Berkeley. He's very passionate about teaching and sharing and helping people develop. So he's a great addition to our faculty. And we have a variety of classes starting this fall. We actually have 4 courses going on online. You can take one or all of them. They work in an asynchronous manner, which means you can take them at your when it works for you during the week, but you stay in sync with your classmates. So it's called asynchronous learning. The course takes place over 6 weeks, but you can actually do a lot of the work on your own time. Some of the courses actually offer a live session during the week, like either an open office hour or a guest discussion, so that the class can kind of come together at special times. So the class is actually filling up pretty quickly, Jaspal's class. So if you're interested, today would be a good time. Maybe just a quick, you can go to our website, foodbusinessschool.org. We've got a great repeat course called Values-Based Food Brands. This is hosted by Sangeeta Forth, who's a terrific experienced marketing executive who built her career at Method, the home cleaning products company, and at Plum Organics. Really talented, smart person, will help you think about how your values can be operationalized for competitive advantage in a comprehensive and integrated brand building approach. What we're seeing is challenger brands that really stand for something are just taking lots of market share from big established incumbent brands. So this is a very timely course. We also have a fabulous course called Essentials of Nutrition and Sustainability, which is led by two great professors from UC Davis. Bruce German is leading that for us. Bruce is an old friend and colleague of mine who's one of the most accomplished nutrition scientists and professors really in the world. He's been the senior advisory chair of one of the world's largest food companies. He's extremely entertaining and charismatic. And then another course is called Technology Trends and Policies that are Transforming the Food Industry. This is a good core course taught by Professor Justin Siegel, also of UC Berkeley. Really a fascinating young professor with great knowledge in big data and I'm really excited about that course too. So if you want to learn more about those, please go to our website, and we're grateful for your attendance and attention today. We hope that you'll spread the word to your friends. We're still in a very early stage of Food Business School. We're trying to build our learner community. We're trying to get people to know about what we're doing. So if you would be kind enough to share or retweet or repost, or just let your friends know, those people that are really interested in making the world a better place and changing the world through better food, you can help us. And our reciprocity is to offer you 15% off your next course by using this code FBS15 at our website. And we'll look forward to seeing you at future FoodBiz Plus series. We're doing these once a month. And our next one is coming up, will be in October. And then we've got some real celebrity guests coming up later in the year with Sam Kass, and who was the chief policy advisor in the White House for nutrition for about 6 years, and began his career as a chef for the Obamas, and is now very accomplished person making a big dent in the challenges in the food system. And we'll also have Steve Case, who is the CEO, founder of AOL, and has written a great book about entrepreneurship and the third wave, and is a fellow board member with me at Revolution Foods, and is an investor in a number of other really innovative food companies. So he'll be joining us too. So stay tuned, join our mailing list, and if we didn't get your questions, please email us, and we'll answer them personally. Thank you very much, and have a good evening. Bye-bye.